Miranda Hobbs is a prime example of how having male-centered friends can disrupt your life. Hi, my name is UDA. I'm with the Bourbon Bougie team, and I'm here to talk about women and pop culture and film. And as you already know, I started out with Carrie and Big, and now we're moving on to Miranda and Steve. Miranda Hobbs represents the mother to wife pipeline that Burb talks about a lot. When we talk about Miranda and Steve, we're going to get into a lot of things like king baby, hobosexual, you name it, we're going to get into it. So, out of the group of the four girls, Miranda's role is the more strong willed, fiery, opinionated. She went to Harvard. She's a lawyer. She's trying to make partner in her firm. She's considered to be the more masculine out of the group, even though, like, as you can see up there, she's quite feminine compared to the regular town boy. But out of all the group of them, they wear pink, they wear flashy jewelry, Birkins, Dior bags, and Miranda's kind of more laid back, even though she does have pops of colors and she's obviously wearing heels. But in the first season, she has a little pixie cut. We see her in a lot of like neutral colors, and she's usually dressed up in her work attire, which is obviously like the like suit, pants. What is this called? Miranda is one of the first women we see in TV decentering men. Before her, there wasn't really a lot of that. There was very like male centered women in TV because a lot of the women in TV were written by men. The stark difference between Miranda and the other women is that Miranda's never needed male validation. Before she met Steve, she was in her opt out era. She was not looking for a man. She was not seeking them out anymore. Even if they did seek her out, she would turn them down. She just was done with that before she had met Steve. She once tells Charlotte that it's dangerous to let a man be everything for you. And we just see Miranda as this like icon. Like she was doing this before anybody else. I used to hate to be called a Miranda, but now I'm like a proud Miranda of every friend group that I'm in or get put in. I'm always like, yeah, I am the Miranda of the group. Like she was a realist. Miranda always said the truth, even if it hurt people's feelings or even if that's not what they wanted to hear. She was always giving the girls such good advice, especially Carrie and Charlotte, and they would never take it because they are male centered. Like they are pygmies. Miranda's main insecurity is developed pretty early on in season one, and that insecurity is her femininity. Steve, Charlotte, and Carrie all use this um, insecurity about her femininity, about her not being feminine enough or not doing traditionally feminine things against her and as a weapon against her as like control. She feels like she's not making partner in her firm because she's not in a relationship. And then one of her coworkers is like, hey, can I set you up with someone? And the coworker actually ends up setting her up with a lesbian. And she's like, hey, I'm not a lesbian. Like, even though I'm not exactly what people would consider as feminine, I have a pixie cut, I wear suits, I work in a law firm, but I'm not a lesbian. And this starts to really like affect Miranda because later in season two, she buys her own apartment. And as she's buying it, she has to check all these boxes that say single, single, single. And then the lady keeps making comments about how, oh, are you going to have your boyfriend move in? This is a big apartment just for you. When are you planning on having kids? Like, it's like women can't do anything like by themselves or for themselves if it's not in reference to another person, not in reference to a man, to kids, and to even like, then people are like, they give her a pass too if she is a lesbian. They're like, oh, okay, so you're doing it for you and your girlfriend. And it's like, no, how about I'm doing it for myself because I want to do it? Why do I have to do it for another person? This is the start of Miranda and Steve, unfortunately. Okay, so Carrie and Miranda are supposed to meet at a bar for dinner, but Carrie blows Miranda off because Big is making her a veal. Miranda is obviously upset because she's supposed to go out to dinner with her friend. Her friend bails on her and doesn't even call her cell phone. She calls her home phone. So Miranda doesn't get the message and she has to call her and it's like, hey, is everything okay? She's obviously upset. She asks the bartender for another glass of wine. And this is where she meets Steve. You guys already know I hate Steve because of the little rant I went on about 2 weeks ago. Um, I hate this man. The kind of hatred that I have for this man should be studied in medical journals. Remember the time when I said, Carrie is everything I don't want to see in a woman. Steve is everything I don't want to see in a man. I don't want to see you ever. Like, I don't want to see you walking, breathing, talking. Go away forever. I always say that I'm a hater first, feminist second. And nothing against my baby Miranda. That's baby, that's Pookie. Literally love her down, like we'll defend her. But you, this man right here, I hope to never experience a man like this in my life. I cannot stand you. I will hate on you until the day I'm 6 feet under. I will hate on you forever, forever. The craziest thing is I used to like Steve. I remember when he first came into the show when I was watching and I was like, oh my God, he could be really good for Miranda. I was super excited to see where they would take his storyline. Mel Hamlet says that the writers turned Miranda into the giving tree, and that is the perfect example because there's nothing wrong with being the breadwinner. There's nothing wrong with being the masculine one in your relationship. But if you're going to be the masculine one in your relationship, your man or your partner needs to take over the femininity in the relationship. And like, obviously, there are certain things that people assume to be feminine and more masculine, but like, Steve does not do that. Like, if he's not going to be, making money outside of the home, he needs to be cleaning up inside of the home. He needs to be taking care of the pets. He needs to be taking care of the bills, the appointments, all that stuff. Steve would not do that. Steve is just not that guy. You're not that guy. Sorry. Steve is not doing that. So that's why it's so frustrating because it's like Miranda does everything in this relationship. Steve does absolutely nothing. And if you are like a Miranda and Steve lover, hopefully this series can change your mind. Hopefully I can convert you into being a hater like me. Okay, let's talk about their first interaction and talk about how they meet. Do you see my face right now? I'm disgusted. You disgust me, fam. Okay, so Miranda asked for another glass of wine, and Steve, the said bartender that we're talking about, he says, please. And she's like, what? And he's like, I would like another glass of wine, please, like implying that she should say please. And she's like, what is happening? She's like, are you allowed to talk to me like that? And he's like, yeah, I think I am. And she's like, okay, this whole thing is like cute or whatever you're doing, but like I've had a bad day. I just had a phone call with my friend. I'm upset and I don't like care for what you're doing right now. A lot of women find this scene to be super cute and like, oh my God, he's doing like a little playful banter, this and that. I don't think so at all. Not for me. When I first saw this, I was like, why would he do that? Like that just, he felt like he's like, okay, she's having a bad day, so I'm gonna go and humble her. He's like, I see a strong, beautiful woman sitting over there, and I'm gonna make her feel worse than she already does. Because I honestly don't think that Miranda was being like overtly rude in this scene. I think she was just having a bad day, and maybe she forgot to say please. It's not that big of a deal. She said please afterwards, and then Steve is like, please, Steve. He's like continuing the thing afterwards. After she says please, he's like, please, Steve. And she's like, who even are you? Like, what do you mean, please, Steve? I don't know you. This is weird. Like, I can say please, sir, but I'm not going to say your name. Like, I don't know you that. And this is not about disrespecting service workers. That's not what's happening right now. What's happening is this is a man trying to humble a woman after she's had a bad day. Because instead of Steve, like he heard the conversation, she's like, I'm sorry, I just had like a really bad conversation with my friend. I had a fight with my friend. And he's like, yeah, I heard. So he heard that. Instead of him being like, oh, this lady's having a bad day, maybe I should try to comfort her. He goes over there and is like, maybe I should try to get her to say please. Steve is the type of man that'll be like, you really should smile more. Women are so much more beautiful when they smile. You should smile. Oh, why are you so angry? Why are you so rigid all the time? I guess Miranda thinks that this whole thing that he's doing is cutesy, and she's like, oh, you're so funny. What are you reading? They start to talk a little bit. So Miranda takes him home. They hook up. Afterwards, Steve tries to ask for her number, and she's like, no. This is part one of a series I'm going to be doing called Beware of the Hobosexual. And I'm going to do it with different characters, but right now we're starting with Miranda and Steve. And do not think I forgot about the Don't Be a Carrie Bradshaw series. I'm still going to continue that. We're doing the whole thing. So we're going to continue that up until and just like that. Like, follow, share, and subscribe for more. Here's part two of Beware of the Hobosexual. We left off with Miranda and Steve hooking up. Afterwards, he asked for her number. She's like, nah, not gonna happen. Afterwards, this man comes to her house like the next day, and he's trying to like spit game. He's like, oh, let's go out to dinner. I'll take you out tonight. What are you doing? And Miranda's just like not feeling him. One, because she's starting to distrust men at this point. She's like lost just a lot of respect for them and trust for them after we see in the series, like all these guys she dates, like they have, either weird kinks or they're just like disrespectful. Or these guys are just not a match. So she's not really. Miranda's better than me. I would have called the police. I'd have been like, excuse me, there's a strange man at my door. Leave, get out now, get. So he's still at her apartment. He's still trying to spit game. He asks if he can take her out to dinner, and she's like making excuses of why she can't come. She's hesitant. She's like, I don't want to go out to dinner with this man. Miranda's like, I actually have plans tonight. And he's like, oh, okay, well, I can meet you there. First of all, she did not invite you. She said, I have plans tonight. Not we have plans tonight. I don't know you. I just met you yesterday. I don't know why you're like trying to invade my plans, invade my space. Like, this is supposed to be a dinner with me and my girlfriends. You're not coming. You're not, you go away. So they compromise, but she actually just like ends up, he's like, oh, I'm going to meet you for drinks before your dinner. And she ends up giving him a fake time. And then he comes back and he's like, what's the real time? So they get to Denial, which is the dinner place. And Steve is sitting with the girls. This is before like Big arrives. And because Big is supposed to come out with them. And that's a whole thing. You can go see it in my Don't Be a Carrie Bradshaw series. They're sitting at dinner, and Miranda makes a joke about how Steve is just a good F, and that's why he's there. So then Steve gets upset. He pulls her aside, and he's like, why do you hate men so much? I've never done anything to you. Let me just ask you a question. He's like, just like saying things to her. And obviously this triggers Miranda because of what I talked about earlier. She has a insecurity with her femininity. And now she's being called a man hater to her face. Even though Steve obviously doesn't know her and he doesn't know that this triggers her, this kind of makes Miranda reflect a little bit. She goes and sits back down with the girls. She's still like upset because it was a heated moment. But later, Big does end up coming. He tells Carrie that he won't be able to make it, but he ends up coming. And for some reason, that makes Miranda believe in love again. Big showing up shifts Miranda's perspective, and she starts to reflect a little bit. So then afterwards, she runs outside, and Steve is walking in the rain. They make up. She apologizes for, I guess, not believing that he has good intentions, and they kiss in the rain because this is a TV show. So Steve and Miranda don't really fit, and I don't want to call it incompatibility yet because I know that some people can make it work, but for them, it's tumultuous at this point. He works at night because he's a bartender, obviously, and Miranda works in the morning because she is a lawyer. So he stays up very late. She goes to bed early. That is like a main point of contention between them. Steve likes to have like morning intimate relations and cuddles, and Miranda would prefer to do it at night, but Steve can't do it at night because he is working. And by the time he gets home, Miranda's already asleep. Miranda is very type A, very put together, has a set schedule for everything. Steve is the opposite. He's very go with the flow, laid back, easy come, easy go. And there's nothing wrong with that, and there's nothing wrong with being a bartender. This isn't a class issue. This is about like a people issue. This is about how you treat people. This is about how you treat your partner. So because of these differences, Miranda does get a little bit angry about it, and she fights with Steve about it. I don't even know if it's really a fight. It's more of like an argument. She's like, hey, I can't keep doing this. We need to work something out that's better for the both of us. After that, Miranda does become more optimistic in their relationship. Her and Steve are working it out. She's excited. She's happy. There's nothing wrong with that. That's good. If you think you found your person, he definitely is not her person, but at the time she did, and she was having fun, and that's what it's about, you know? Ladies and gentlemen, we are at the suit. Okay, so Miranda has a party, a work party for her firm, and she's like, oh, this is the first time I can actually bring somebody because she has a stable boyfriend. So she asks Steve to come along with her, and she's like, but you need to wear a suit for it. And he's like, oh, I have a suit. And she's like, oh, like what color is it? Is it black? And he's like, no, it's gold corduroy. And she's like, yeah, no, we're going to need to get you a different suit. Miranda takes it upon herself to take him suit shopping so he can have a suit to wear to this. And you may be asking, oh, why does he have to wear a suit? Why can't he just wear a dress shirt and nice pants? It's not about that. I think they added this storyline in there for a very particular reason. It was to show the audience who Steve really is and how many men behave. Like many men will say that they're okay with you being the masculine relationship, you being the breadwinner. But when it comes down to it, they don't believe that, or they feel emasculated. They never explicitly talk about who's going to pay for the suit, but it is implied that Miranda was going to pay for it because she's like, "Oh, get the shoes, get the tie." Um, so they get up to the register and he's like, "I can't afford this." And she's like, "It's okay, it's my treat." And he's like, "No, I can't let you pay for it." And all of a sudden he has a problem with her paying for things. And I found that to be like when I first rewatched it, I was like, this is super weird that you have a problem for her paying for things when you had no problem letting her drop a bag on you all the time and letting her clean up after you, cook for you, pay for the apartment that you're living in, buy all the groceries. So he doesn't let her pay. He says, "Oh, it's going to start to feel like you're my mother," and that could get a little weird. And for Steve, that's such a crazy thing to say because Steve straight up let Miranda do everything for him. Like, if Steve could let Miranda bathe him every single morning and literally wipe his butt, he would let her do that because he just doesn't do anything for himself. And that's crazy for him to say as well because he was out here letting her wash the skid marks out of his underwear. I will get back to that. You are a grown man, but I will get back to that. Skid marks out of his underwear. He was out here letting her take care of him and his mother. Then he went and adopted a dog and was like, "It'll be practice for a baby." And then anytime Miranda tried to have like a serious conversation with him about a baby, she's like, "Okay, you want a baby? These are all the things you're going to have to give up and all the things you're going to have to do to take care of this baby." And then Steve would be like, "Oh my God, you're being such a buzzkill. I hope the baby gets my positive attitude because you're always so negative." It's not negative, it's realistic. Like, you can't just sit on your phone or sit in front of the TV screen watching Sesame Street every single day and doing nothing to help your family. The next day is the party at the firm, and Steve shows up in his like regular attire and he's late also. And Miranda's like, "Hey, what's going on? Where's the suit?" And he's like, "Quite frankly, I couldn't afford it." And she's like, "Okay, so why didn't you let me pay for it?" And he's like, I don't feel good about myself. Like, I feel humiliated if I would have let you pay for it." And Miranda goes, "Okay, so I'm punished for being successful." I think that's such an important line because not only does it reinforce Miranda's insecurity, but it also just represents how a lot of women feel. A lot of women feel like they can't do it all. And anytime they try to do it all, they are punished for it. I think that women can do it all, but I'm saying like a lot of women feel like they get punished for, wanting to be successful, wanting to have a lucrative career, but then also wanting to be a mother, but then also wanting to support their family. Like, we can never win. Everything we do is always scrutinized and we are still on the suit. Okay, listen to what I'm about to say because I feel like I really did eat with this. Okay, so you know how men never pick me. It's like pick me is like, "I'm right here, I'm right here, I'm right here. Pick me, pick me, pick me," with their hand up high, right? And the men would never pick them. It's because they like the hunt. And I'm not saying that Miranda is a pick me, but I think this is what Steve is exhibiting. So whenever Miranda is willing to give him things for free, give him love, kindness, her amenities, anything that she can, do to support her partner, he doesn't want that unless it's coerced out of her. It's just like how men like the hunt. They want to hunt for it. They don't want you to give it to them handed on a silver platter. He only feels good about himself unless he literally is physically making her feel bad, which here's part two of Beware of the Hobosexual. We left off with Miranda and Steve hooking up. Afterwards, he asked for her number. She's like, "Nah, not gonna happen." Afterwards, this man comes to her house like the next day. And, he's trying to like spit game. He's like, "Oh, let's go out to dinner. I'll take you out tonight. What are you doing?" And Miranda's just like not feeling him. One, because she's starting to distrust men at this point. She's like lost just a lot of respect for them and trust for them after we see in the series, like all these guys she dates, like they have either weird kinks or they're just like disrespectful. Or these guys are just not a match. So she's not really into men, to dating at this time. A lot of people find that scene of Steve showing up to her apartment all romantic and they're like, "Oh my God, he's making an effort." First of all, she doesn't want the effort. Go away. Second of all, Cecilia Regina said this about how he was looking for his meal ticket. He saw like how nice her house was and was like, "Oh yeah, I'm gonna live here. I'm gonna nest here. The pest that wants to nest and rest." He found his his parasite to stick on to. I got way too into it and the video cut me off again. They're trying to silence women again every single day. They try to silence me. It won't happen. No, I won't let it happen. Okay, we were at the part where I'm saying about like how men like the hunt. If Miranda is willing to give things to Steve out of the kindness of her heart, he refuses to accept. So after Miranda says a line, "So I'm being punished for being successful," her and Steve break up because she even offers, she's like, "Okay, you don't have to wear the suit, just come to the firm party with me." And he's like, "No, I'm emasculated, I can't. He's like, too much ego for him. Like, he does not come with her, and that upsets her, obviously, because he is just not willing to show up for her. Then at the firm party, Carrie does her little voiceover, and it shows that like Miranda feels bad because she's like, "Well, damn, maybe I should have just accepted the gold corduroy suit." And I'm like, it is not about the suit. It's not about the suit. It's about him not respecting you, because even if he didn't want to pay for the suit, he didn't even come to the party afterwards when you're like, "Oh, you can literally just wear what you're wearing." And he's like, "No, I'm just gonna feel like it's not my type of people to be around because I'm a bartender and you're a lawyer." And she's like, "I don't care about any of that," but he cares about it. So it's affecting the relationship. This isn't exactly manipulative. It's more of a red flag. But next video, we're going to get into how like Steve is manipulative, how Steve uses Miranda's insecurities to weaponize them against her. And Steve is obviously like insecure in these episodes, and he shows his insecurities a little bit, and Miranda always has to like console him and take care of him and feed his ego. And I just don't exactly think that that's healthy. There are things where you are going to be insecure about and you can talk to your partner with it. But if you're coming to them every single day and you're like, "Validate me, reaffirm me," that is not something that your partner should be doing. That's something that you need to work on within yourself. It's not something somebody else can change for you. Even if she reaffirms you every single day, you still have those underlining problems. And that's not going to get fixed if you don't do the active work to fix it. As you can see, I found my glasses. I've literally been looking for them for 2 hours. But this was part 1 and 2 of Beware of the Hobosexual. And we're using characters Miranda and Steve from X and the City. I'm going to probably continue to do this series, but use other characters from other movies and film. Also, if you like X and the City analysis, be sure to watch my Don't Be a Carrie Bradshaw. I'm still working on that one. Like, share, subscribe, and follow for more. See you guys later.